Kenyan. I can go live in South Africa, do business in South Africa, and still come back home, go to Rwanda, go to any other African country, and be seen as an African and not a Kenyan. While being Kenyan is important, we agree, but that would not matter because you are in the continent. I'm going to give you an example of the 27 blocks of the EU. You get this Schengen visa, you can go anywhere, work anywhere, and it is okay. That is what Africa has been pushing for a very long time. Have the African passport. With what we're seeing currently happening in South Africa, does that still remain being a reality? And what must Africa Union and the leaders of African countries do to ensure that Pan-Africanism is entrenched not only on the macro level, but the citizens, the micro level, understand the importance of Pan-Africanism?
First and foremost, we must admit that we are seeing a lot of backpedaling within the government of South Africa. As a result of what we have talked about, a new, evil alliance between the anti-African incels and the former ideologues of the apartheid regime. That connection, not necessarily that, but the champions of whiteness in South Africa, the champions of whiteness and the champions of blackness, who see the rest of the continent as the other than being part of the black continent, is now what is shaping South Africa's policy towards Africa. And therefore, now from the African continent, looking at African inside, there are very few people who have taken this kind of dichotomy. I personally would not have taken it if I didn't live, in South Africa long enough and at the policy thinking level. If I could not have distinguished what is now happening. But looking at it from that lens, where we are seeing that the coalition that is ruling South Africa only see Africa as an outpost where they can go and invest. That's why their banks, ABSA and others, are coming to the continent. Their security companies like G4S and others are here. The mining companies are everywhere on the continent, and so on. But they cannot see the connection between what they are doing and the broader, Pan-African agenda of basically empowering the continent as one, uniting the continent along the lines of Kwame Nkrumah's United States of Africa, or Mama Gaddafi's, or Kenyatta's idea that Africa is one. I don't think they think so. For them, they are beneficiaries of white Western capital, which has dominated South Africa. And that capital is the one that is now riding on Pan-Africanism. And it did very well under Thabo Mbeki, because Thabo Mbeki is an economist. Knowingly or unknowingly, he himself became a conduit of white capital from the South African coming to the continent. Here in Kenya, and in many other countries where there was that consciousness, there's a serious backlash against a takeover by South Africa. And that, of course, estranged South Africa and Africa from the fact that we were resisting their investment, which was not investment, it was basically a takeover of businesses. But now when they came in as investments, ABSA and others have found it very easy to operate on the continent, and so to say. South Africa has been the champion. I stated, and I want to repeat that. I was hired in South Africa among the many African experts who are now part of my network, from Sierra Leone, from Zambia, from Kenya here, across the continent, Egypt. We were all converged in South Africa, because at that time, only South Africa was investing in the project of Pan-Africanism. And when they were investing in the project of Pan-Africanism, transforming the Organization of African Unity into the African Union, it was not about removing the O in the Organization of African Unity in order to produce African Union. It was a serious ideological agenda, which has now produced what we see today. The African Union, its peace and security architecture, and its larger secretariat, which is basically the most powerful continental government. To be sure, African Union as constituted, if the African leadership takes that seriously, is more powerful than the European Union. European Union is a pale shadow of what we have there in Addis Ababa. It is a problem of commitment of our leadership, particularly on the financial front. I've not seen any African country that has set aside a budget to finance. In other words, when we read our budget, I've never seen any item saying support for our continental government. We have the support for the counties. We have the support for the national government, but not for our continental government. Yet, we are part and parcel of an emerging continental government that is hiring even our top officials. Raila Odinga spent 5 years as a leader of the African Union.
Yes.
And he died fighting to lead the continent on that. Why? Because as Kenyans, we have those 3 tiers. In South Africa, that was there under Mbeki. Now it is not. Therefore, we have this Africa Free Trade Zone.
Free Trade Area.
Yes, area which is the largest, trade area ever
Yes.
In human history. With 54 or 55 countries, if you don't want to, if you want to make Morocco angry, because they don't think Sahrawi is part of that. So, but the African Union has 55 countries. Now, and South Africa is supposed to be part of this, and actually